Time now to check in with the Better Business Bureau. Nancy Cahalen joining us as always. And very interesting today, because what we're going to do is we're just going to have Nancy tell us a little bit about the history. I always love the history of things. How did things come about? And today Nancy's going to tell us a little bit about how the Better Business Bureau came about. Why did people band together? Why was it when it was initially founded back in 1912 that people said, you know what we need? We need to come together and start a Better Business Bureau. Very interesting. Nancy, thanks for joining us and thanks for talking about this.
Thanks so much for having me. 1912 was a big year. It's the same year that Fenway Park opened, and also the Girl Scouts were founded. So we were in very good company being founded in 1912. So people are pretty surprised to hear that we initially were founded in 1912, but we were initially founded because of deceptive advertising. And so, we think about today and we think about all the things we talk about and deceptive ads and fraud and scams. And, not much has changed. It was the same back then. So responsible businesses sensed a tremendous value of advertising. At the time, advertising, they didn't have the internet, and they were limited pretty much to newspaper print advertising, and they knew it was very valuable to them, and but so did the hordes of fly-by-night operators, the scammers. So the challenge was creating high ethical standards in advertising and not killing the medium, So the most best remembered the activities of one man. So this is another little bit of history that I found very interesting when I first started Better Business Bureau, and that is that the Better Business Bureau was founded by a gentleman named Samuel Dobbs, and he was actually the sales manager and later the president of the Coca-Cola Company. So what happened was back in the early 1900s, his company found itself in court on charges, which the trial subsequently showed to be unfounded. But during the court proceedings, Dobb listened to the attorney charge Coca-Cola, the U.S. attorney charged Coca-Cola with false advertising. But the thing that really, really bothered him was that the company's own attorney said, why, all advertising is exaggerated. Nobody really believes it. So although he didn't realize it at the time, that attorney marked the start of the Better Business Bureau movement. So Dobbs, he just couldn't forget what he heard, and he began a serious examination of advertising at the time. And he found a lot that he could admire, but even more that he could strongly criticize. So he began making public appearances and addresses on the subject, and with the support of many friends in the advertising industry, he called for complete truth in advertising, and his efforts resulted in the adoption of what's called the 10 Commandments of Advertising and the formation of the self-policing force known as the Vigilance Committees. That sounds pretty severe. They later became the Better Business Bureau. I don't know about you, but I prefer Better Business Bureau to Vigilance Committee.
Yeah, that sounds. I know, like you're walking up and down the street, and you're going to really take some law into your own hands. I agree. The Better Business Bureau is a good name. I am fascinated though by this part. In part, I guess what I'm kind of fascinated is here we are in 1912. I feel like the Better Business Bureau is clearly more needed than ever because some of these same arguments are going on now where people, start to think that, all advertising is just exaggerated and, and not truthful, not knowing that, of course, the businesses that belong to the BBB have standards and you enforce those standards.
Absolutely. So the big difference today is that there's so many more ways for businesses and scam artists to get the word out. There's so many more mediums that they can use. So back in the day, in 1912, the biggest concern that the BBB was dealing with was advertising of stocks and investment offers. Well, doesn't that sound a little bit like these cryptocurrency scams that we've been talking about? And later, there were fake automobile companies and oil promoters and financial swindles.
Mm.
We have scams today with fake websites selling products that don't exist, cars and trucks that don't exist. And then there was land speculation in Florida, robbing people of millions of dollars. So that almost sounds a little bit like some of these timeshare scams. So scammers are still active, and we read about truth of advertising issues in the headlines every day. So debt relief for student loans. There's a lot of scams regarding that topic. There are false promises made to lower or even eliminate consumer loans. There's COVID claims. A lot of companies have come out with products that they claim prevent or cure COVID. And then this latest, yesterday, the FTC came out with a number of cases against companies that have CBD products, and they claim all kinds of health-related things about those products. They say they can actually treat or cure Parkinson's, ALS, Alzheimer's. None of this is proven. So ad review is very important today, as it was in 1912, and advertising self-regulation has been part of the mission of the Better Business Bureau since its founding. So we continue. That's one thing people don't realize. We're reviewing advertising. It's a little more challenging now because there's so many advertising messages that bombard us all the time. But we do that every day. And when we find an ad that is misleading or unclear, we address it's called a challenge, and we bring it to the attention of the advertiser, and we ask them to either modify it. So maybe they make a claim that they can't substantiate. We ask them to modify that, or we ask them to discontinue it. Those, if they choose not to, then we report that in our public reports on the business, so that people will know that we brought this to the attention of the business. They ignored us, and they won't change it, and they'll keep that in mind when they're making their decisions about what company to do business with. So it's really just as important, if not more important today, that advertising be truthful, and it's a primary responsibility for truthful and non-deceptive advertising with the advertiser. The advertiser needs to take on that responsibility, and BBB is here to help enforce that.
I look for that BBB seal. I really do, because it stands for a lot. I don't know, Nancy, if people know also. There is a process to be able to go through to be able to get that seal of approval.
Absolutely, yes. So there is even there are minimum requirements to even apply for accreditation, but once those requirements are met, a business can apply, and then their application is vetted thoroughly. And one part of that application process is reviewing their advertising. So usually that's their website, and now that includes Facebook as well. A lot of businesses are using Facebook. So ad review continues to be a part of what we do, and every year we go back and we check their websites and their Facebook and other advertising as well. So it's a key part of what Better Business Bureau does every day.
Very good. Nancy, this was fascinating. Thank you so much for bringing us a little bit of the history of the Better Business Bureau and the way in which you continue to protect us today. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure.